next thing is amortization tables. So anytime, I know that we have been plugging into the TBM solver and we can sit there and see this is what we have. But a simple way of thinking about it, and you don't have to take notes on this, but this is 6-3 notes, but don't take notes on this yet. So let's say we just had, let's say we have a loan. Let's say we went out and bought, I don't know, something that cost, we paid $10,000 for something. Okay, but we have a 5% interest rate, and they're giving us 20 years to pay this off, which hopefully you can pay off 10,000 a little bit faster than that. So basically what's going to happen, and I imagine this is at some point going to become an electronic version, because it is an absolute, in my opinion, an absolute waste of paper. And I know that the legal people will say, well, we have to have the paper so people can have their eyes on it. Now, when you buy a house and you can take a loan, which is fine, and you're going to have a certain payment, they're going to give you this amortization table. And so usually you have 30 years times 12, because 12 months, to pay it off. And it is line by line, okay? And basically, it looks something like this. And I'm just going to make up values so I don't have to keep plugging it in the calculator. So you're starting out with $10,000. So that's where our start is. We have paid to interest, principal paid. It might not be this order. Okay, principal is paying off the loan, and then now what's owed. Okay, so you start out with this $10,000, and let's say you made this equal payments, and I'm just making it up. So paid to interest, you would have paid, let's say $744. You paid for interest on your particular payment, and the amount you paid on principal was $360. So then you have a new value here. Okay, and that new value here carries down to here. And let's say the next time you pay $743 in the interest, and towards the principal you paid $361. And this is a very simple way. And whatever that total comes, then that returns down to here. And then as this is going down through the years, there's two things that are happening. This is coming down in how much is being paid towards interest, and this is coming up. Okay? So what I mean by that is, as you're making payments on your house, and you can literally look on your statement. When you get a statement each month, whether it comes electronically or not, it'll say you paid this much towards interest, you paid this much towards principal. So the principal is paying off that $10,000. The interest is how they're making money off you. But this is calculated out to the cents usually, but I'm just trying to show that you have $744 that was going towards interest, and $360 went towards the loan. Well, that means that this loan is $10,000 minus $360, and then add $744 to it. So that's how much you owe basically. Then this is, you pay $361 off of the new total, and then you add $743 to it. So it seems to be going up in what you owe, and the reason it's going up is banks and mortgage companies and brokers want the interest up front. Okay? As you get further and further and further into paying off a house loan, let's say you did take a house loan out to 30 years, your very last payment is going to be almost all of it goes towards principal, and a few pennies go towards interest. Okay? So it's as the paid interest depreciates or lowers, the amount that you put towards principal, because you're making an equal payment each time. So let's say your payment that you're making each time on this was $100, or let's make it better than that. Let's say it was $1,000. So the 10,000 is dropping down, but of that $1,000, somewhere in that $1,000, a certain portion is going towards the interest, a certain portion is going towards the actual principal of it. And again, that's how they make money hand over fist. Now, a few things that are out there that you want to watch out for. There's a whole lot of things that is going to start happening to you all within probably the next 10 to 15 years. But you're going to have certain debts. There are certain debts that you need to owe. And I'm making these different size balloons because we're talking about the amount of money. Okay? And then you have you in the middle. And you have lots of ways that you have rang up some sort of debt. Okay? Now, this is a debt. Owing money is a really easy thing to do. And a lot of people say, "Oh, that's the American way." But don't. America's stupid. I'm sorry. People are just dumb. And I'm recording that, so play it for whoever needs it. You should not live life owing money. It is a huge trap. But it becomes one of those where I can't make this work. I can't pay this back. Every month I have 5 different locations money's going, and it still doesn't, and I still have to live life, so I'm still using my credit cards to do that. It is a huge trap. And I remember when we first started getting credit cards at age 18. And my buddy Billy's like, "Dude, this is the greatest thing. Spend all this money on it, and then you just make the minimum payment, and it's awesome." I'm like, "How much is the minimum payment?" And I was like, "Dude, man, I spent like, $450 last week, which is like $1,000 in today's money. And all I have to make on my credit card payment is a payment of $23. Dude, it's awesome." Okay, so I can sit there and spend this money and then pay back a smidge. Yeah, it's awesome. Billy, you're an idiot. Now, my best advice to you, and this is advice that comes from financial planners, people who understand money. Debt is easy to get into. It's hard to get out of it. Okay? Now, if you find yourself in debt, and it's very possible you will, but please take notes or take note of in your mind how this will work. All of these different debts, they have different percent interest that they're accumulating. They're making money on you because you borrowed money against them. So these are just different amounts that is out there. Okay? So, if you want to get out of debt, you've probably heard the term, if you continue to do the same thing over and over and over again and expect different results, that's classified as insanity. Okay? And this goes towards all the guys out there. I remember, there was a time where I was in the dating scene. I had a much more full head of hair, had a goatee, had a mullet. Oh, yeah. I was prime pickings, I'll tell you that. But it was like, I would try and use the same pickup lines over and over and over again. And it weren't working. So something had to change. Either I had to change the hairstyle or get a better pickup line. Okay? So what this goes with is, if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, not here, Dave. Sorry about that. if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, and you think that it's going to change the outcome in the future, that is a very incorrect thing to do. So if you found, let's say you're in your mid-30s, okay, I probably won't be teaching anymore, but reach out to me. Send me a Facebook. I'll probably have Facebook still. I don't have the Instagram or the TikTok or the Yik Yak or the Patty Whack, Give the Dog a Bone social media stuff. I don't have any of that. But reach out to me. And if you need someone to sit down and figure out how to get out of debt, because it's real easy to get into. It's one of the easiest things to get into until you're like, oh no. So if you find that you have gotten yourself into debt, the best thing for you to do is you find your smallest debt and you aggressively pay that off first. Okay? So let's say the minimum payment on this was $45 per month. And this is what you're trying to pay off. If you keep paying $45 per month, it's going to take you 26 years to pay off this item, and it's going to cost you way more. And this all accounts back to, Rex the salesman, all that kind of stuff. It's a jip. So what you want to do is you want to somehow figure out, just keep paying the minimums on all of these, and that's fine. You just keep paying the minimums on those. But you find your smallest amount of money owed. Now, the big trap on this is like, oh, that doesn't have that big of an interest payment. Don't fall into that trap. People say, oh, I want to go to the biggest interest and pay that off first because that's taking the most money. Kind of sort of true, but trust me, I will show you how to get out of debt much faster. So you find your smallest debt. So let's say this was $45 a month. You're going to figure out, you have to tighten your budget, whether this says, hey, you know what? No, I don't need to get the iPhone 97, with the 66 different cameras on it that takes infrared pictures. It actually does a bone scan of you. It's got all these cameras. You don't need it. Okay, y'all got so many cameras on your phone. Do you use all the cameras? Oh, no. But you got them? Oh, yeah, it's great. But falling into when people say, oh, you have to have this. I mean, I kid you not, a conversation I had when I was back in Arizona with my buddies, I pull up my phone and look at something, and my friend Daryl says, dude, let's start a GoFundMe page so Sturb can get a better phone. I'm like, well, my phone works. I see all the texts that y'all send me, and it works when I call you. Oh, but you need a better phone than that. Why? What do you do? Daryl, my net worth is well into 7 figures. There's nothing more I have to say. I know Daryl has a boat that he's paying on. He has a house he's paying on. He's divorced. He's got to pay. I mean, he's in trouble. But yet he's worried about my phone? So, friends, if you go through this with debt and you find your smallest, so let's say we aggressively pay this. We cinch down. We buckle down. We realize, you know what? Going out, starting from Thursday, Friday, and Saturday every night, dropping hundreds of dollars at nightclubs and things like that. Though it's fun, it's costly. If you want to hang out at a nightclub, do what I did. Become a bartender there. Okay? It's free. I get paid to be there. It's awesome. I don't do that anymore because, I'm not that cool. But, so you go to pay this $45 a month. So let's say we're going to increase our payment, and we're going to get this up to $150 a month. Okay? We're basically, about tripling our payment. A little bit more than tripling our payment. We're just finding somehow. So once this gets paid, because you increased your payment, you're going to do a couple of things. You're going to find the next value that you owe. So let's say this is my next account. So now you have that minimum payment. So you're going to do the minimum payment plus this payment to get this paid down. Okay? And then once you keep doing that, you're just really just increasing this. Then you go like, hey, you know what? I'm feeling pretty good. I'm down to 3 things that I owe on. Yeah, it's still kind of bad in my direction, but if I pay it down further and further, you go to your next one that you owe, and you get that paid down. Now, you might increase this $150 because you're starting to see your money is a valuable asset to use, as long as you don't fall into the victim of, I'm making the minimum payment. And once you do that, you then go to, that gets paid, you go to your next one, and you continue, and you're like, wait a minute. Then all of a sudden you're down to this. Now here's where foolish mistakes can be made. I feel great about myself. It took me 6 years, but I got these 4 things paid for. I feel good. You know what I'm going to do? Let's go spend more money and go get in debt again. No, don't do that. Yes, please spend money. Okay? But don't overspend. And get this debt paid off. But the thing is, it is absolutely amazing to me to see how much debt people get into. And they do silly things with it. And I'm not trying to be critical of people. I'm just saying this is what happens. You know, you're going to get to a point where you want to buy a house. Everybody wants the house with these 12 items. It's got to have 5 bathrooms, 19 garage spots for me to park. I need 14 bedrooms. I need a master bedroom that's bigger than Cherry Creek High School. I need a pool. I have to have a huge yard. Those are all wonderful things that you want. But are those wants really what you need? And you just got to be very cautious about when you're going through, and you guys are at a vulnerable time. You're coming out of a goofy past couple of years with the COVID stuff. Now you're all trying to figure out what's next. A lot of life. Okay? I was talking to my brother-in-law this past weekend. He and his wife, so his wife is my wife's sister, so I guess she's my sister-in-law, so he'd be my brother-in-law twice removed because there's no blood lineage, something like that. I don't know. However that works. But he and my sister-in-law, Judy, John and Judy, they bought 5 years ago a restaurant and brewery up in Dillon called Pug Ryan's. Now, my brother-in-law, John, has been brewing beer since the 80s. Okay? John opened a place called Flying Monkey Brewery in Kansas City. Then went out to Delaware, opened another brewery out in Delaware. So that came out here, worked at Breckenridge Brewery when it was still up in Breckenridge, then moved down to Calumet, got mass production. Now they moved down to Santa Fe, and then Anheuser-Busch bought Breckenridge, in which he was a partial owner, so he got some good money. Then, with that money, he and Judy went and bought Pug Ryan's up in Dillon, which is, you know, a restaurant and brewery. And they just sold it. And they made a killing. I looked at John and said, so what's next? What brewery are you going to open up next? I'm done. John's 56, a little older than me. So you're at 56, you're retired. He goes, no, not retired. I'm done managing people. I'm done paying out people. I'm done. Okay, John, what's next? Well, we got plenty to live on. So I'm going to go get a job at Home Depot so I get insurance. I kid you not. That's his goal. Now, John and Judy, they're selling their home up in Silverthorne. Beautiful home that they bought up there. Made a killing on that because the real estate market, just like everywhere else in Colorado, went through the roof. So they're doing great. And I'm happy for them. But I'll tell you, those 5 years, including the 2 years of COVID, how his brewery and restaurant survived is because he understood this distribution of beer. And he got his products down here. So people were buying, like, hey, Pug Ryan's. Oh, that reminds me of Silverthorne. Sitting on Lake Dillon, looking over the lake, being down at the tiki bar at the dock. Oh, it's beautiful. This is all a real part of that. But because when COVID hit, yeah, the restaurant food went way down and the restaurant service went way down because people couldn't go there. You could order food and pick it up. So he basically kept the cook and himself and Judy and a couple of other people, but they were able to still show a profit, which I was happy for them, but unfortunately they had to let people go. But where will you go next? What is your next big picture after high school? I know there's college for some. I know there's I don't know, for some. I know there's, I'm going to the military for some. Or I'm going to go work this job for some. What do you want to do with your money to live as comfortably as possible? Because you all know, my friends, you see an awful lot of $50,000 a year millionaires. They have items like they're making millions when they're only making $50,000 a year. They're up to their eyeballs in debt. There's nothing they can do. It's a sad game that people play. So we'll delve into a lot more. There's a much deeper and deeper and deeper for the last couple weeks of school, because I want the real foundation of you to have a good understanding of where traps have happened. Okay. Now I'm going to tell you, I fell into the trap of credit card as well. It's an easy thing. You know, you get your thing and it says minimum payment this. Oh, cool. I can make that minimum payment no problem. I fell into it. Heck, my darkest moment was my my first year teaching. And I did the really smart thing to chase down a bet on a craps table. The dice are going to start going in my favor eventually. So I did a $3,000 cash advance on my credit card. It's not a good idea. I was going to chase that bet. I'm going to win my money back. $3,000 cash advance on my credit card. My credit card automatically charged 28% interest on that money that I borrowed against my credit card. Whew. You know what sucked about living in Vegas? When you drop $3,000 plus at the tables, and you drive by that same casino each and every day on your way to work going, what was I thinking? Was it a fun night? Sure. I had months to think about what I had done. It was foolish of me. But I thought I could make a change. I thought I had the angle. Which, with that known, is what we are going to get into tomorrow. Talk about how Vegas is not a friendly opportunity for you. All right, so I didn't assign anything yesterday, so I want to just make sure we finish this up. This is, make sure you have finance quiz number 2, review, and then make sure you have 11 and 12 done, okay? And we'll go over that quickly tomorrow. I'll check it off tomorrow, but you have the rest of the period to work on it. I hope you liked my story about debt a little bit.